So this, the book started, but the idea for this started roughly in 2008 when I was asked to review a book for the Southern African Historical Journal called Composing Apartheid. And it was a range of essays by some of South Africa's leading musicologists. And although it didn't really touch on popular Afrikaans music per se, it resonated and chimed with what was going on in the back of my mind by then already for a long time. Because I've been playing at arts festivals and shows in ons noem dit maar kunstefeeste, maar dit is maar jy weet, dit is nie altyd kunst nie. But I've been carrying that question around. I couldn't understand the high level of buy-in, cultural buy-in by mostly white Afrikaans speakers into that, what we can call superficial pop Afrikaans music. I couldn't understand it. I saw them at arts festivals. It was a strange, from an anthropological point of view, it was a phenomenon that I wanted to understand. And then this book opened up avenues for me to explore. And then when I looked at the existing literature on popular Afrikaans music, the themes that were most dominant were Delaray. Delaray is nou al 10 jaar uit, bietjie meer. Sociologists, historians, literary critics, all had something to say about this song. Was it Afrikaner nationalism? When people stand like this and sing this anthem, did it hark back to a history where the Afrikaner was a victim and not the perpetrator of a skink in die verhaal? You know, what was happening here? And that seemed to dominate the literature. And what I found, because my practical life on the road, playing music at shows, told me that there's a much wider support for popular Afrikaans music outside. It's not nearly just resigned or limited to the Delaray only. There was no academic discourse on Teens Jordaan, for instance, of Chila Tyd in Vreemde Stad, which sold more, I think, than the album Delaray. But waar is die stories oor Janita Du Plessis? Waar is die akademiese artikels oor Skarumba? Sy verkoop meer albums as enige ander vrou in Afrikaanse musiek. Sy verkoop meer albums as Bob van Black. Sy verkoop meer albums as Teens Jordaan. Waar is die akademiese literatuur en akademiese skrywe oor haar? And it may be realized that popular music, even the most superficial popular music's got some meaning. Not necessarily its lyrics and not necessarily the genre, but it's the context and what Lydia Goer calls the extra musical. So I thought, okay, I'll embark on a study of post-punk popular music, which neatly coincides with my own career. Having started with the Wild Possums in 1995 with Talkie Bear's band. I didn't elaborate too much on the Wild Possums. I think I don't want to, as a shadow monumental musical achievements. Maar as jy skryf met post-punk musiek, jy weet dan, as jy nou 'n boek daar wil skryf, en tegnies gesproke is Voelvrou nou nie deel van die gesprek nie. And the shadow of Voelvrou in the late 80s is quite a significant one. You can't really write a book about Afrikaans music and not talk about Voelvrou. And Voelvrou does show up in literature. Pat Hopkins wrote a book. Professor Grimling wrote an article on that as well. But that was it. Voelvrou, Delaray, en ons 'n bietjie in ons werkgebied vir die voormans en werkgebied. But that's it. And then with Voelvrou out of context, you know, yes, it was quite an acute phase of political Afrikaans music, but you know, the 80s, the years leading up to Voelvrou was, you know, we're a highly political society, politicized society, and you see other forms of, you know, interesting things happening in Afrikaans popular music in that decade. And then other artists that are not directly related to Voelvrou, Anton Goosen, Amanda Strydom, David Kramer, Lorika Raab, Koos Du Plessis. So then you think, okay, I have to include Musiek in the Riek then as well. Nothing was written on Musiek in the Riek. But now then you can't just end, if you go back in time, you can't just, you know, arbitrarily start in 1979. A lot of things were happening in 1979. It was preceded by what I feel is the height of apartheid, the height of Afrikaner nationalist optimism. And in that time, popular Afrikaans music was produced by Afrikaans singers. So we had to look at the mainstream during that time as well. But then you start backdating, and then I found, oh, the 1930s, what a fantastic, interesting decade. It's particularly dense time period as well. For those of you who know Afrikaner geschiedenis, wat baie dinge gebeur in die 1930s en dit het baie groot invloed gehad. En jy het die boeremusiek of the 1930s. Jy het die David de Langes en jy het die Chris Blighnots. And, you know, can't leave that out. So now I'm really backdating. I thought, you know, the hell with it. Let's just go to bedrock. See. Wat iemand gaan my eendag van my tyd vra nou maar Schalk, wat is dan die oudste plate? Dan kan ek sê wel nou maar gaan soek vir daai eerste opnames in Afrikaans. And so eventually I thought, okay, let's just start, look for the beginning. And one source on that was the South African Music Encyclopedia, which was itself quite a major project in the 1980s. But they used limited source material. And these, you know, there are discographers out there that go through old piles of papers and they decipher studio notes, and then they always update these discographies. So you always get with new editions, you get older dates and older dates. So according to Malan en de Suid-Afrikaanse Musiek Encyclopedie, die eerste opnames wat gemaak is van Afrikaanse musiek wat 'n Afrikaanse konneksie het, was Thomas de Nys en Betsy Schalk in 1901. Hulle het albei Transvaalse volkslied opgeneem. But it's probably a sad admittance from my side, but the whole winter of 2014, remember that gig we played in Margate? It sucked, eh? Tim and I played a gig with Collins in Vryheid, and then we drove to Margate to hook up with Gerald to play a bike rally the next day. And I started reading those discographies there in the hotel room in Margate, and then when I came back, I went online and I started looking through almost 500,000 titles to find 15 examples that were not in the South African Music Encyclopedia, including recordings of Dutch or Boere Republieke volksliedere made during the Anglo-Boer War. So what's the meaning of this? And it's older than what the SA Music, South African Music Encyclopedia dated. The significance, unfortunately, not really much. It's a sign of vague sympathy towards the Boers. You know, during the Anglo-Boer War, everybody hated the British and what they were doing towards the Boers. Also, these were just off-the-street musicians. They made recordings that were unrelated to the Transvaal and the Orange Free State, so you can't really read too much into whatever the motivations were. But a few years later, in 1906, people started recording Afrikaans music in Afrikaans, with Afrikaans sprekendes. And they were mostly people that managed to procure and secure scholarships to go study in Britain. And they were the small Afrikaans-speaking community in London. En uit hulle uit het 'n klomp van hulle begin Afrikaanse musiek opneem. And that's more significant for me because figures like J.J. Smith was the first editor of the Huisgenoot. He left London to come back and become editor of Huisgenoot. He was also the first ever professor in Afrikaans at Stellenbosch. And he was also soekeredakteur van die WAT. So hy was 'n groot taalman geweest en 'n groot rol gespeel in die standaardisering van Afrikaans. En hy was die eerste persoon ook toevallig wat as 'n jong student, nagraadse student in Londen, Afrikaans opgeneem het, 'n plaat. Maar in die jare daarna het 'n paar Engels Afrikaanse sangeresse, meer as mans, musiek opgeneem in Londen. Van hulle twee figure staan uit. Annie Visser. Haar pa was Radus Visser, hy was 19 jaar hoof van op die Volksraad gewees in die Vrystaat. Sy het bekend geraak, sy het opnames gemaak in Londen, sy het teruggekom Suid-Afrika toe, sy het getoer met Basma de Rebellie in 1909 en sy het toenemend meer Afrikaanse liedjies begin sing en haarself met Afrikaner politiek bemoei. She became involved, she became good friends with Herzog, and after he she started to sing exclusively in Afrikaans, and she became known as ons een bekwame Vrystaatse sangeres en een warm patriot. Soos sy nou is. Maar sy het al bemoei vir Afrikaner identiteit en sy besing in Afrikaans om die Afrikaner trots te maak. Dit is haar doel gewees met haar musiek. Another interesting figure was Florine Florel. I don't know the background. I found an obscure reference to her in the British Journal of Nursing of 1913, an advertisement of this woman singing in Afrikaans, exclusively Afrikaans songs. And notably, she was known in London as the Taal Singer, or the Taal Singer. Exclusively Afrikaans music, and she gave half her earnings to the suffragettes. But that was the first wave of Afrikaans music. So you do see some of those figures forming part of a narrative. Those were still fluid years of Afrikaner identity and Afrikaner linguistic identity. And you see here that they, along with a number of authors, begin to form part of what Isabel Hofmeyr is called the process of building a nation of words. A kind of a personality cult around Afrikaans authors and also singers. Dan, kyk, wil nou net 'n highlight package gee van die boek wat julle nou moet ek bietjie seker 'n paar verrassings oorbly ook. Maar generally the contours, that's where it started. And that was a fascinating history that's never ever been investigated. So I felt quite a feeling of, at least I felt cool about it, for lack of a better word. Die interessante goed is begin in die 30s. The first ever seminar I had to do about my research, I started with a letter by Dr. N.J. van der Merwe, and he's no relation to mine. Not that I know, obviously far away, I suppose. And it's at the second Congress, IfPop Volkscongress in 1931, waar hy sê, ek gaan dit nou net paraphrase, toe die Columbus maatskappy hulle intensies publiek gemaak het om Afrikaanse musiek op te neem, het ons vir 'n briewe geskryf om te sê hulle kan staat maak op ons ondersteuning mits hulle Afrikaanse musiek van gehalte uitbring. Maar sentiment en besigheid gaan nie hand in hand nie, en hulle het aangehou om liedjies soos Brandewyn laat my staan en hou die roksak toe. Jy weet, vry te stel. En ons kan nie vir hierdie Brandewyn en roksak liedjie kunstenaars persoonlike verhoog gee om vir ons op te tree. So basically, and we've come a long way, here we are, we're talking about Afrikaanse musiek en ons drink Brandewyn. It's full circle. But what that really meant was a class tension between white Afrikaners as well. And the IfPop 2 years into the organization's history, the middle class cultural entrepreneurs represented one level of Afrikaner society, and people like David de Lange and what they were singing about. They were singing about life and leisure, of the underbelly, of the lower strata of Afrikaner society that were languishing in the growing cities. In the mid-30s, almost 50%, or about 50% of all white Afrikaners, I've come to race just now, white Afrikaners were on that threshold, slipping across the racial line and out of politics, effectively. And also, hulle was besig om te verengels. So hierdie was 'n groot kulturele projek geweest. En daar hierdie spanning tussen nie eens hoë kuns nie, maar this tension between sanctioned and unsanctioned popular culture remains there. It's probably still there. There are still traces of that today. So the 30s really represent, and look, they were selling hundreds of thousands of these Boere music records. In 1936, David de Lange sold, you guys that know a bit of record sales, 300,000 copies, in excess of 300,000 copies of Suikerbossie. That's more than De La Rey as well. But curiously enough, the next year, when the IfPop Volksang was published, it was the largest collection of Afrikaans, notated Afrikaans music at the time. There was no Suikerbossie, no Die Donkie van Chris Blignac, none of the popular songs. And the next year with the centenary track, as Willem Vroneman has written as well, they wanted the Afrikaners to sing, but they just didn't know the songs in the volksang, but hulle het suikerbossie geken. So het hierdie twee vlakke van die samelewing gehad. I think, I'm talking about the SABC and the tension there. It's founded in 1936, but the Afrikaans channel started in 1937, and it gave an opportunity for professional musicians like Hendrik Susan to play live over the radio, hy het sy orkes. And Hendrik Susan became known as the father van ligte Afrikaanse musiek. But what really kind of transpires is that Hendrik Susan, and he's a legendary band leader. He gave a start to the careers of people like Mark Carstens, for instance, who's still one of the biggest seller in Afrikaans music history. But also this jazzy version, this jazz influence was also didn't fly well with the IfPop because it's a foreign influence. So it represented something foreign that may be very erosive to Afrikaner cultural ideals. There's an obscure reference by one of Hendrik Susan's bandmates, Freddy Luit. That said, Hendrik Susan was a proper musician. He played jazz with the Jazz Maniacs. And I thought, okay, I knew about the Jazz Maniacs. Christopher Valentine wrote a fantastic book called Merwe Nights. And in it, he talks about the Jazz Maniacs, Wilson Tele and I forgot. I should have had a sip of brandy beforehand. That's about it. There's a black Marabi jazz band called Jazz Maniacs in Joburg in the 1930s and 40s, but there's also a white Jazz Maniacs band in Johannesburg at that time. And the white version challenged the black Jazz Maniacs for the name, and it wound up in front of a judge who said, "Oh, let's use the more esteemed group of the two." And I think that was the first battle of the bands in South Africa. And sure enough, the Black Jazz Maniacs won. And it's very tempting to place Susan with the Black Jazz Maniacs and think that the father van ligte Afrikaanse musiek het eintlik daar saam met die swart ouens by Marabi Jazz gespeel. But there's no proof. And the narrative goes to that. Luckily, if you write chronologically, you kind of you lead through historical phases, but every time there's a new theme that cropped up, and sure, if you read the book, you will find that there are a lot of things to say and to add, or criticize, of course. But at least this is a bridge that spans the entirety thus far. As we go into the 1950s, you see, which is still fluid, and as the apartheid legislation really organizes life, according to race, it impacts on music performance, segregated recording studios, and you see, actually from the very beginning, recorded Afrikaans music, and that's a theme that I touch on. Recorded Afrikaans music is in the realm of white Afrikaans speakers. Music performance in Afrikaans is as multicultural and multiracial as the language itself. But access to recording opportunities were limited to a few white Afrikaans musicians. And that still is the case today, which I'll talk to you about that just now. But you do see the influence of the racial other, to use a term that's often thrown around. Unpopular Afrikaans recordings like Kwela in the 1950s, when they start releasing Kwela, almal Kwela, Fred Woolridge en Kwela Fluitjie, of Penny Fluitjie Kwela, was die anthem van, Vanus Rautenbach se oggendprogram Flink in die Vere. 13 jaar lang het almal wakker geword met die Penny Fluitjie. Maar waar kom die Penny Fluitjie Kwela vandaan? You can go read Lara Allen's work on that as well. So you have this weird idiosyncratic way in which Afrikaner society engages with, the musical styles of other people and make it their own. But also the 50s and 60s really, for Afrikaans, white Afrikaners, is a period of economic stability and economic growth. En ewe skielik is almal middelklas. Met middelklas leefstyle. You get teenagers. You didn't have teenagers in the 1930s. You were working already by that time. And with that also you see the import of rock music from abroad. And Elvis hit hard. Elvis hit me hard when I grew up as well. En die invloed van rockmusiek op Afrikaanssprekendes en Afrikaanse jeug is gewoon 'n tema wat baie interessant is. And also Afrikaans rock music. Anton's not here tonight, but he likes that to claim that he's, and you can maybe, yes, you can seriously call him the father of Afrikaans rock, really. But he was technically the first. You had the Bats in 1968, Tom Davie, all that rugby, a Weltevrede Stasie was probably the first long-playing record in Afrikaans, or the rock record. But even before that, you had the Hobos in 1966, who had a song called, Hasie, you can see Liedjie van Hasie. They made a rock version of Hasie, as one does, I suppose. But even before that, in 1964, you had the Bravados, who made a song called Gogga, which is a Beatles reference. A song, Afrikaans rock song about the Beatles in 1964. But even before that, you had Johnny Congos and the G-Men in an Afrikaans movie. It was never released as a soundtrack, but waar was jy? I had to watch it, the whole of the movie to get to the song. But I think that's in 1963, I think that is bedrock for Afrikaans rock, as a better word. But really, things do get interesting, eventually. When TV arrived in 1976, it changes the dynamics of Afrikaner culture and music production as well. Suddenly, certain musicians can perform music on television. Stefan Bauer, the poet, had a program, Feynet van die Woord. And because you already by that time had quite a good stock of Afrikaans poetry, 30ers, 40ers, 60ers. It was easy for folk singers, Afrikaans singers, om het te toonset, to write music for that. And suddenly you have Ingrid Jonker being sung by Lorika Rao. And that per se, that factor there, a priori, is already better quality music than what Guy Corson was doing in the 60s with Sing Erika, which is a translated Waffen SS marching song from the Second World War. So, in elk geval, ek dink daar musiek in die liriekfase, it doesn't seem as if the artists involved in that field and in that circle were really aware of the fact that they were now part of a movement. It was, I think that the enthusiasm was really on the side of journalists who wrote about it, who wanted to write about this is cool at last. But it's significant. Now, I find early forms of political comment, because in a wide Afrikaner society, it was the late 70s and 80s, you see that hegemony unravel, and you see tension among, I'm not even speaking about tensions in the township and the border war, but all that's impacted on white Afrikaner society as well. And you start seeing critical voices, not just in music, but also in literature, 80ers, you see it in cabarets, and you see a wider circle of critical Afrikaans voices in Afrikaans arts. And, I look at Reinholdus Niemand, en hou my vaskop herhaal van 1983, wat so anders is as Les Bridgers onbekende weermagman. Die twee teenpole, there's two opposites singing about the border experience. But obviously the big thing in the 80s was Voorvrou. And I do venture briefly into the field of autobiography, and I might be heavily criticized for that, but writing about Voorvrou personally was, I had to check myself. I had to keep the reins tight, because I grew up, it had a massive impact on me specifically as a 13-year-old boy when it happened, and a 12-year-old. And I learned all the unscapable songs on the piano, and Chris Kombuis songs were easier, But I mean, for me and my friends at school, a small group of friends, it politicized us in a way. There was a rumor going around that you could take on you couldn't be caned if you had political views. You couldn't be caned for your political views. So we use that as an excuse to really, push our more conservative teachers very far. Now, that rumor was never actually substantiated, but we didn't get, ons het toe nie geslaan nie, so ek dink pak gekry, so it's okay. Maar for me, Voelvry was an amazing thing. But the group of kids that listened to Voelvry with me was just that. It's a small group of people. But the dynamics of Voelvry does not allow it to become mainstream. It's this inherent irony as well, because it attacks white middle-class Afrikaner society and the vapidity and the banality there are. But it is, as Vrindling has mentioned, it is white. It's a white conversation, and it happens within that context as well. And if you put Voelvry in a wider context, white middle-class society had a bigger problem to worry about than Afrikaner rebels, rock rebels. They were facing a black majority democracy looming on the horizon. So in that context, that middle-class society probably needed to be defended rather than subverted. So that limited the impact, I think, of Voelvry. But eventually, I got to post-apartheid Afrikaanse musiek. Hier is ons nou. It's still one of the biggest sectors. The post-apartheid thing doesn't really work anymore because the 2017 is not 2007. 2007 is not 1997. And I've seen talk of post-apartheid, but there are definitely, what happened towards the end of the 20th century and the early 2000s, you see an absolute boom in the Afrikaans pop market. And the Afrikaans culture industry boomed as well. Whereas during apartheid, it could rely on state support because Afrikaans and English were the only two official languages of South Africa. After 1994, there were 11. All the state subsidies for the drama groups and the theatres and all that was gone. But you see the privatisation of Afrikaans culture, and you see arts festivals like KAKNK and Art Club that went dead and then resurrected again, and all sorts of things happening like that. And Kyk and Afrikaner business identity, lekker slaap.co.za, Binnenlanders, Sewende Laan, there's a culture industry that's alive and well and very profitable, it seems, and the Afrikaans pop music plays in on that. But there are certain difficult questions to ask about the insularity of that thing, the commodification of what Afrikaans, who's Afrikaans. So what you have is now, and I talked about Steve Wolfmeyer. In a weird way, I'm very grateful whenever he tweets something, because it gives me something to say. Maar almal weet, hy maak mense bewus daarvan dat Afrikaanse sangers het 'n politieke agenda, of sommige. En dit bring in die volksmond bring die gesprek oor Afrikaanse musiek en politiek en wit politiek. Mense maak maklik daai koneksie. Dis nie obskuur nie. But I don't think also, and I know it's not empirically sound, but I went to look at Facebook followers to judge the level of popularity that someone like Steve Wolfmeyer has. And except for die antwoord, en hulle is die antwoord nou ietsie anders. Okay. He's got the most Facebook followers of any Afrikaans music artist. Over 400,000. I suspect most of them are white.
Put money on it.
Which is twice as much as AfriForum. It's an anecdotal reference. It's not supposed to be empirical science, but it gives you an idea. If you want to gauge how far of the center is Steve Wolfmeyer, not too far. If 40,000 people sing the old Melody Stem by any boss, then you're not dealing with a fringe here, and that gives you an idea of the zeitgeist of what, of that particular population group, and it's very apparent in popular Afrikaans music, and that leads us to, we have to ask very difficult very serious questions, and this will take 2 minutes 45 seconds, and then I'm finished. I was going to end with the last paragraph, as one does, I suppose. As a final thought, the salient themes highlighted here are ones that influence the way in which people related to Afrikaans music over time. In fact, they are the reasons people have related to Afrikaans music over time. Just as people related to Merwe or early Boer music because it meant a temporary escape from the hardships of everyday life, others related to hero kitsch Afrikaans pop because it resonated with the romantic aspirations of European lifestyles. One cannot absolutely explain musical tastes through things like class, education, political ideology, religion, and other such factors, but they do play a vital role in understanding the production, the very existence of popular music. The success of mainstream Afrikaans music today is nothing new. Its trajectory from the start of the 20th century ran parallel with fundamental developments in terms of language and identity politics, and still does. The continuation of popular music produced by and for mainly white Afrikaans speakers from the era of early language activists at the turn of the 20th century to the working class Vasra Boer orchestra of the early 1930s, and the commercial music of ligte Afrikaanse musiek has never been suspended. Even the political Afrikaans music of the 1980s, from Musiek en Lyriek to Voorvry, with its links to literary and theatrical criticism against apartheid from other Afrikaans artists, also function within the parameters of white Afrikanerdom. In the post-apartheid context, Afrikaans music has become more diverse, but many artists have become more assertive in projecting their political views and have shown a strong regard for Afrikaner nostalgia. Nostalgia is a very powerful theme that I hope more people would investigate in the future. A good question, of course, is if it is fair or even relevant to read the political into something as everyday as merely going to a concert of your favorite singer who happens to be white and Afrikaans and successful. Or about playing De La Rey in the background when you're having a braai with friends. These are most certainly not conscious political acts, and there is no easy answer. One also does not want to define the whole Afrikaans music industry and its history in terms of race alone. On the other hand, numerous current discussions on Afrikaans language politics and its future will do well if it takes into consideration such complexities. The question must be asked as to what it means when Afrikaners retreat into secluded spaces, how sustainable such insularity is, and ultimately, how this influences their relationship with the wider South African society.